Hi everybody, welcome back to our top 10 sortas. That's where we give our top 5 responses to certain things. In this episode we're going to talk about comedians.
Yeah, I had a problem with this.
It's a long list.
Well, it's a long list. I wanted to make a list of guys who were just absolute locks for a top 5 comedians list, but somebody didn't want to eliminate certain names so we could get in other people.
Yeah. So we'll give off our top 5s for each of us first, and then we'll go through a bunch of people that we wanted on this list besides.
Yeah, right. So here's the thing. My number 5 is my actual number 1 working comedian today, which is Christopher Titus. His shit is open, honest, and very, very funny. Well, he's got this great storytelling style to him, where he, really just kind of bears his soul to the audience. I mean, he talks about very fucked up shit from his childhood that most people would be embarrassed about and not ever want to talk about. Like his fears that he's going to be insane like his mother. Strange, heavy-handed relationship that he had with his father. His cheating cunt of an ex-wife. And the way she fucking dragged him through court. And yeah, it's great. Go to ChristopherTitus.com and download his specials. It's a great price. It's definitely worth it. They're all generally good 2 hours long with no commercials, and I guarantee that you will laugh. If you don't, you can send him the bill for what you spent on the DVDs.
And so I will not pay them.
What's your number 5?
My number 5 is going to be controversial. It was tough to put him on because he's had such a fall from grace.
But, wait, can I guess?
But he was so influential in our childhood, and his comedy specials were such an influence on us growing up. I had to put him on the list.
Okay.
And go ahead and make your guess.
Bill Cosby.
That is correct, sir. Bill Cosby, if you go back and you're just looking at him as a comedian and not as a human being because of all the stuff that's been alleged towards him.
Yeah.
One of the funniest people ever to live.
Yeah. It's he has great delivery. Really good speaking voice. His stuff was funny. I love the description of his wife beating their children.
Yeah.
And he's just a hockey goalie. They come running towards, boots him back out.
Well, that scene is really screwed up. In which cases, go upstairs and kill your son.
Right. My wife came into the room holding a yardstick like a samurai warrior. It's really funny stuff. It's too bad that in his personal life has to tarnish that, because he would have made my top 5 if it hadn't been for the disappointment of what he did. Maybe I'm letting emotions get in the way of logic, but I didn't put him on.
Yeah. So number 5, Bill Cosby.
Right. Number 4, the other guy, the guy who to me was more influential to my sense of humor than Bill Cosby, which is Eddie Murphy. When I was a kid, I could quote Raw verbatim.
Raw and Delirious.
Yes.
Both of them.
Yes.
I mean, once again, we're going
absolutely.
back to... It came from Netflix, where we were watching HBO all the time when we were kids.
Yeah.
And his specials were on HBO constantly.
I had Delirious on an audio tape, and I would listen to it when I went to bed. So, that was all locked in. Mr. T's a faggot and all that. Goonie Goo Goo, you fucking name it, man. I knew that gag.
Yeah, I love Eddie Murphy.
It's too bad his career fell apart after the 80s.
Yeah.
Well, to certain degrees, he's had roller coaster up and downs.
It was the same situation where Bill Cosby's having, where he got caught with the male prostitute in his car.
But the difference is
the drugs and all kinds of stuff came up about him.
Yeah, but the difference is, we knew Eddie Murphy was doing drugs. At the beginning of Delirious, he was like, get me heroin. I need enough to get a good head on, but I don't want to overdose. He said it on camera, out loud. We knew Eddie Murphy did drugs. He didn't hide it. He didn't give a fuck. And that's, you know what? His brother is a guy that should be Charlie
Murphy. Oh my God.
Yeah, he should be on the long short list after we do the 5. So I'm mentioning Charlie Murphy right now because I love that.
And
guy.
It's weird talking about
Dave
Charlie
Chappelle.
Murphy as a comedian now, because when Eddie Murphy was doing his early stand-up, he used to talk about Charlie constantly.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
Yes.
My number 4 was difficult because it flipped back and forth between two guys.
Okay.
My number 4, number 3 kept flipping.
All right.
So in order to keep with what we're talking about now, I'm going to say my number 4 is Eddie Murphy.
All right. Then I guess we don't have to cover that anymore.
Google.
So my number 3 is Sam Kinison. Also way more influential on me than Bill Cosby. Loved Bill Cosby, but Sam Kinison had tapped into a direct line to his rage, and it was hilarious. And just fearless about doing fucked up things. I loved the gimmick where he'd call a jilted guy up on stage, and they'd get on the phone and call his ex and berate that bitch in front of the entire auditorium. So fucking funny. So funny. And again, it's too bad about the drugs and shit.
Yeah.
You know, and the dipshit that killed him.
Yeah, and the untimely death.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame he's not still with us today. It's just an enormous talent. You actually modeled your entire life after Sam Kinison for a bunch of years.
I even got fat.
Yeah. Dan's wedding, you looked like Sam Kinison.
Yeah. No, Sam Kinison, I mean, it just angry ass trench coat wearing rock and roll motherfucker.
Yep.
Loved him. Absolutely loved him. I mean, it breaks my heart thinking about the stuff that he could have delivered if he'd have, not gotten fucked up on drugs and not gotten killed by some asshole in a pickup truck. So you're number 3.
Also is very good at channeling his anger. Is very emotive about it. Lewis Black.
God damn it. And I accidentally do Lewis Black all the time. I didn't even think about, fuck, I feel like an asshole now.
It's because you are an asshole.
Hell yeah.
But Lewis Black is just fucking hilarious.
He is. He's a funny fucking guy.
Angry
Well,
man.
and the funny thing is, I did the angry hand gestures before I ever saw him, but now people just kind of accuse me of it.
Yeah. Well, it's because it's it's a fairly common angry hand gesture. But yeah, I mean he channels it and the bile spews out.
Yeah. No, and again, it's so hard to only come up with 5.
Yeah.
It really is. It's really fucked. Now, the top 2, not that difficult. My number 2 is, and it was kind of a flip between these guys, but I'm going with number 2 is George Carlin. What can you say? It's fucking George Carlin. The man was brilliant. His observations about society, language, politics, anything you could slide in front of the table on him, he'd have something really poignant, really insightful, and incredibly fucking funny to say about it.
And he would come up with new comedies every year. Once again, HBO, we watched him every year.
Well, and that's one of the things that I really like about, my top favorite current comics is they're guys that are always coming up with new material. There's a new breed of stand-up comics now that understand that they can't do the same stale shit year after year after year after year. Christopher Titus works on his fucking thing for a year, develops it the whole year long, and once he's done with it, he puts it on the shelf and he starts busting out new material. He'll still do the old material, but he starts introducing new stuff. So there's always new material every year or two from him.
Yeah.
And that's what was really great about Carlin. He didn't find one thing and just hang his hat on it. I can't gush enough about the guy. So your number 2?
My number 2, Robin Williams.
Oh, yes.
Um,
Yes.
Kinetic, brilliant, fast-minded.
Mm.
One of the greatest improvisers.
And
Of
one
all
of the
time.
saddest events of the last year.
Yeah. Oh my God.
There were people just literally crying
Yeah.
when he killed himself.
Yeah. It was shocking when we lost him, but yeah, I think back I think the first stand-up comedy I ever heard him say was, "If you're here for that Mork and Mindy shit, go ahead and leave because that's not what you're gonna get here."
Yeah.
And it wasn't. He was foul-mouthed and energetic and kinetic and just
He was a
great.
human dynamo.
Yeah. So yeah, number one.
Number one for me is Richard Pryor. And I only put him above George Carlin because he and George Carlin and a couple other guys really were kind of the wellhead that comedy sprang from. There are so many great, talented comics who were directly influenced by those two guys. It was so tough to come up with who would be number one and who would be number two. And I don't know, I felt like Pryor's reached just a little bit more influence in the comedy world than Carlin did.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there were a group of guys at that time who were all writing for each other, and Richard Pryor was part of that. Paul Mooney was a part of that.
Yeah. Paul Mooney, another great guy on the extended short list.
Yeah. And Richard Pryor just he told stories and jokes that just spoke to everybody and spoke to a certain culture and said, "Hey, this is the way things are right now. This is all the fucked up shit," and just threw it in your face. And
Yeah, and another just really fearless guy, and I think that's really one of the linchpins to being a good comic is, not only to just work constantly and work on your material all the time, but be honest and bare your soul. I think that just gets through to audiences. So, what was your number one?
My number one is George Carlin. George MF Carlin, man, the funniest man. I've only seen him give a comedy routine that didn't strike me once. And it was because he wasn't allowed to swear. But other than that, everything that George Carlin has ever done has had me rolling. Just absolutely rolling on the floor. Even the stuff that he's done where he didn't get critically praised for it. The George Carlin show, his comedy specials, everything that... his movie appearances, everything he's done was just great for me, and the fact that he could channel that intelligence and that anger and that warp
and mix it all up into a cocktail that was hilarious.
Yeah, George Carlin, easily.
Yeah, absolutely, and I totally get that. Now is the short list. These are a bunch of people that we wish we could have gotten on the list, but with only 5 slots. With only 5 slots, you end up. Without making special rules to discount certain guys, there's a short list of certain guys that just are the top 5. But going beyond that, I love Doug Stanhope, Eliza Schlesinger, Joe Rogan, Louis C.K., Sarah Silverman, Mitch Hedberg, Andrew Dice Clay, Rodney Dangerfield, Don Rickles, Rip Taylor. If you want to jump in and say anything extra about any of these guys, Richard Lewis, Stephen Wright, Bob Saget. And I love how dirty Bob Saget is beyond the public image he got in the 90s. Steve Martin, Cheech and Chong collectively, Gilbert Gottfried, Nick DiPaolo, and like guys like Nick DiPaolo and Colin Quinn are just underrated nationally. I mean, they're so fucking funny and they should be bigger than they are. And it's not like any of them are starving to death, but I really feel like they should get more recognition. Do you remember Tough Crowd? Colin Quinn's Tough Crowd on Comedy Central?
Yes.
I loved that show.
Yeah.
Because it was just a bull session between some just brilliant comics.
People forget how funny Colin Quinn is. Everybody thinks of him as like a sidekick.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he really is a good comedian in his own right.
Yeah, and smart and poignant. I mean, he's a lot of his stuff is kind of similar to Carlin.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so Howie Mandel, Dom Herrera, Brad Williams, Jim Norton. I love Jim Norton. Joey Diaz, Brian Callen, Greg Giraldo, Jim Brewer, Conan O'Brien, Emo Phillips, Artie Lang, Kevin Pollak, Brian Posehn, Jim Gaffigan. It's not that short of a list. Amy Schumer, Patrice O'Neill. So many guys that I'm thinking of now that we forgot to put on the list. It's just, it's tough to give credit to them all. I love stand-up comedy. It's a absolutely amazing art form.
Well, we grew up on A&E's Evening at the Improv, and
yeah, my mom used to turn that on all the time.
The HBO's comedy specials and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle should have been on the list.
Yeah.
Charlie Murphy should have been on the list.
Yeah.
Paul Mooney should have been on the list. Whoopi Goldberg, was she on there? Whoopi Goldberg should have been on the list. Hell, even Roseanne Barr should have been on the list.
Oh, yeah. No, she was big, and she was fast. I mean, she did her comedy for like a couple of years, and then got the show and just took off.
Mm-hmm.
It's her career was like just amazing.
Sinbad was funny. Yeah, so there's just so many amazing comedians out there.
We should probably stop because we may be running out way too long. So, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. And go check out as many of the guys on this list as possible. They're all really, really funny guys. And a lot of them, are underrated, don't get the exposure that they should. Like Doug Stanhope, I think is just absolutely brilliant. And, he just doesn't get a whole lot of exposure. And, and a lot of that is because he's one of those, march to your own drum kind of guys.
And if you get a chance to go out to a comedy club and get to see some new people live, some young, aspiring comedians live, help them work on their stuff and enjoy their show.
Yeah, but don't be a prick and heckle.
Unless they're the kind of guys who work off of that.
No,
Andy Kaufman.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Kaufman. God damn it. Let's just end this now because it'll never be done.
We'll see you guys soon.
Later.